Think about the best thing that happened to you this year. Take a second. Really try. An answered prayer. A moment that broke through. A day that actually felt like grace. Got it? Tell me, is it as vivid right now as the worst argument you had? As vivid as the diagnosis scare? As immediately accessible as the regret that's been sitting in your chest since last winter? For most people, the answer is no. And we feel guilty about that. We call it ingratitude. We call it weak faith. We quote 1 Thessalonians 5:18 to ourselves. Give thanks in all circumstances. And then feel condemned because we can't seem to hold on to the good things the way the bad things hold on to us. I want to tell you something. That is going to feel like relief. And then like a challenge. And then, by the end of this, like freedom. What you just experienced. The good thing fading while the hard thing stays is not a spiritual failure. It is literally how your brain was built. Your brain holds on to negative experiences 4 times longer and 4 times more deeply than positive ones of equal size. That's not a verse. That's a research finding from UC Berkeley. And it changes everything. About how we understand gratitude. About why Thanksgiving is so hard to sustain. And about why Philippians 4:8 is not a nice thought. It is a neurological intervention that Paul somehow understood 18 centuries before the research caught up. Stay with me. By the time this prayer is done, your brain is going to be in a measurably different state than it's in right now. Rick Hanson is a psychologist and senior fellow at UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center. He spent decades studying what he calls the brain's negativity bias, and he has one of the clearest ways of explaining it that I've ever encountered. He says, the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. Let that image sit for a second. Velcro and Teflon. Negative things. Things. Hurt. Threat. Loss. Criticism. Fear. They catch. They hook. They find immediate purchase in the brain's tissue. And they stay. But positive things. Joy. Gratitude. Answered prayer. Moments of genuine beauty. They slide off. The brain lets them pass through without the same depth of encoding. And this is not random. Hanson explains that this bias is an evolutionary survival mechanism. The brain that remembered the bad berry better than it remembered the good berry lived longer. The brain that was more alert to threat than it was to pleasure survived the predator. So over hundreds of thousands of years, human brains were shaped by natural selection toward one core directive. Pay more attention to what might kill you than to what sustains you. And the brain you have right now is the product of that selection. It is exquisitely well designed to notice threat Encode threat. Remember threat. And anticipate threat. And it is relatively, not completely, but relatively, indifferent to the sustained encoding of joy. Now, here is where this gets personal. Every time you receive an answered prayer, and then find yourself drifting back into anxiety 3 days later, your brain is not failing you. Your negativity bias is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is, it was designed for a world where the threats were immediate, physical, and short-lived. It was not designed for chronic emotional pain, for a marriage that's been difficult for 3 years, for a financial season with no visible end, for a spiritual dryness that started sometime last year and never fully left. In that environment, the negativity bias isn't occasionally inconvenient. It runs continuously. It never finds the all clear. But here is the thing that Hanson discovered that gave me hope. The bias is real, but it is not fixed. The brain is plastic. It changes based on what it's repeatedly exposed to. And Hanson's specific research finding is that you can deliberately counteract the negativity bias by something he calls taking in the good. Deliberately holding positive experiences in conscious attention for longer, staying with them, returning to them, letting them encode more deeply. What measurably shifts the brain's default toward positive encoding over time. He found that even 15 to 30 seconds of sustained attention on a positive experience changes how deeply it encodes. 15 to 30 seconds. That is all. And 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "Give thanks in all circumstances." Feel the thanks instantly. Give it. Practice the sustained attention. The prescription and the mechanism have been pointing at each other for 2,000 years. In 2001, Roy Baumeister, psychologist then at Florida State University, published a review paper with colleagues with one of the most honest titles in the history of psychology: "Bad is stronger than good." They reviewed decades of research across multiple domains: relationships, health, learning, financial decisions, emotional well-being. And they found a consistent asymmetry running through all of it. Bad events affected people more profoundly than good events of comparable magnitude. Single harsh criticism required 5 specific pieces of positive feedback to restore a person's sense of being valued at work. 1 significant relationship conflict required approximately 5 times the positive interaction to return a relationship to its baseline emotional state. Learning from mistakes was faster and more durable than learning from successes. The pattern was essentially universal. Now here's what this means for someone trying to sustain faith through a difficult season. If you're going through something hard, And most people listening to this are. Your nervous system is processing that difficulty with 4 to 5 times the neural resources it would use to process an equivalent positive experience. It is not a fair fight. The suffering has home field advantage in your own brain. This is why the person who has genuinely experienced God's faithfulness, who has a whole history of answered prayer, of provision, of moments where he clearly showed up, can still sit in a difficult season and feel like none of it ever happened. It's not that they forgot. It's that the encoding of the difficult present is neurologically louder than the encoding of the good past. This is Lamentations. Jeremiah sits in the rubble of Jerusalem and writes, I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. And then something shifts in chapter 3. Not circumstances, attention. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. I call to mind. Active direction of attention. Deliberate counter-encoding. The same thing Hanson's lab found 3,000 years after Jeremiah wrote it, in the rubble. But here's what neither Hanson nor Baumeister could fully explain on their own. If the brain has this bias, if bad is genuinely stronger than good, then what kind of practice is capable of moving the needle enough to actually change the brain's default state? That question took me to Emmons. And what he found is one of the most personally confronting things I've encountered in this research. Robert Emmons is a psychologist at UC Davis, and probably the world's leading researcher on the science of gratitude in a foundational study with Michael McCullough at the University of Miami. Emmons divided participants into 3 groups. One group wrote weekly about things they were grateful for. One group wrote about daily hassles and frustrations. And one group wrote about neutral life events with no particular valence. After 10 weeks, the gratitude group showed significantly higher levels of well-being. They reported more positive emotions, more optimism about the week ahead, fewer physical complaints. And this is the part that stopped me. It has stopped me. They exercised more and were more likely to offer help to others. Gratitude didn't just change how they felt. It changed how they acted toward other people. In a follow-up study, Emmons found that people with spinal cord injuries, people carrying genuinely significant physical suffering, who engaged in a sustained gratitude practice, reported higher well-being scores than control groups with equivalent injury severity who did not. The gratitude practice was doing something that couldn't be explained by simply having an easier situation. It was shifting something internal. Now here is where I want to be careful and honest with you. Emmons isn't saying gratitude makes hard things not hard. He's very clear about this. His own framing is that gratitude practice doesn't change circumstances. It changes the brain's relationship to the circumstances. The thing is still hard, but the brain's ability to sustain itself through the hardness measurably improves. This is not toxic positivity. This is targeted neural intervention. And then I want to show you what Philippians 4:8 is doing inside this exact framework. Because when I first read Hanson and Emmons, and then went back to back to what Paul wrote from inside a Roman prison, what I found made me put my notes down and just sit for a while. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Paul lists 8 categories. And the command, the Greek is logizeth, that hind, vikthi, means to reckon, to take into account, to actively reason toward. It's a deliberate act, not passive feeling. Active direction of attention toward a specific category of content. This is Hanson's taking in the good, written in a 1st century Roman prison by a man who had no fMRI machine, no peer-reviewed journal, and no access to the Berkeley Greater Good Science Center. But he had something else. He had the mind of Christ. And he knew what anxiety does to a human being. He wrote the verse before this one, Philippians 4:6, about not being anxious. He knew the negativity bias, not as a neural concept, but as a lived reality. And his prescription was deliberately reckoned toward what is true, noble, right, pure, lovely. 8 categories of counter-encoding. 8 directions of attention to redirect the Teflon mind into something that holds. And then verse 9. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me, or seen in me, put it into practice. And the God of peace will be with you. Practice. Not decide once and feel it forever. Practice. The same word Emmons used to describe what makes gratitude work. The same mechanism Hanson identified for overcoming the negativity bias. Practice. The prayer we're about to pray is a practice, not a one-time fix. Deliberate counter-encoding. The things your brain has let slide off its Teflon surface because the hard things were louder. Put your hands open. Breathe once slowly. Let's go in. 3 movements. First, confession of the forgetting. We're going to name, honestly, what the negativity bias has been doing to your capacity for gratitude. Not with condemnation, with clarity. Second, God speaking over the goodness you've been letting slide off. The things He has done that your brain didn't hold long enough to embed. He's going to name them back to you. Third, a declaration. Declarations. One for each category in Philippians 4:8. Counter-encoding. The new default. Father, I want to start with something that I think you already know, but that I haven't said out loud. I've been losing the good things. Not on purpose, but the answered prayers. I felt them when they came, and then I let them go. The provision that showed up when I genuinely didn't know how. I was grateful. And then 3 weeks later, I was back in the same anxiety, as if it had never happened. The moment of grace in a relationship that I'd been praying about. It came. I felt it. And then the next hard moment in that relationship hit 4 times harder. Then the grace hit soft. I've been living in a brain that is wired to let joy slide while keeping grief. And I've been calling it faithlessness when it's actually neurology. Father, I confess the ingratitude. Not the ingratitude of not caring, but the ingratitude of not practicing, of not deliberately bringing the good things into conscious attention long enough for them to actually encode. Lamentations 3:21. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The hope came from the calling to mind, not from circumstances changing, from deliberate attention. I confess that I haven't been calling it to mind, that I've been waiting to feel grateful instead of practicing gratitude. I also confess something harder. There are gifts you've given me that I've so thoroughly normalized that I don't even see them as gifts anymore. The person who loves me, who I have been taking for granted this season. The body that functions, that I've been cataloging by its failures. The work that provides, that I've been resenting for what it costs me, rather than thanking you for what it gives me. The faith I still have, thin as it feels some days, that I've been treating as inadequate, rather than honoring as present. The fact that I'm here right now, in this prayer, still reaching, when I could have walked away entirely. And some days it felt like a close call. Close call. That is a gift. Father, I'm sorry for the normalized blessings, the ones so constant that my brain stopped registering them as data points about your character. Your mercies are new every morning, not new every dramatic occasion. Every morning, including the ordinary ones, especially the ordinary ones. And finally, I confess the comparative ingratitude, the habit of looking at what I don't have instead of what I do, the comparison that makes my specific life feel like a lesser version of the life someone else is living. Social media has industrialized this tendency. The negativity bias was already tilting the scales. Comparison poured fuel on it. Lord, I release the comparison today. Not naively. I'm not going to pretend that what they have doesn't look appealing. But I am going to choose to bring my own specific life into deliberate, extended attention and find what's true and noble and lovely in it. Because Philippians 4:11, Paul wrote, I have learned, in whatever state I am, to be content. Learned. Not gifted. Not woken up with. Learned. Over time. Through practice. Let me learn it. Amen. Stay. The next movement is something I've been waiting to get to since the beginning of this. God is going to speak over the goodness, your negativity bias. Let's slide off without encoding. He kept the record. Even your brain didn't. Child, let me show you what I've been doing while your negativity bias was cataloging the hard things. You remember the hard things well. I'm going to help you remember the other things too. The morning it came through. You know which one. The thing you'd prayed about and had almost stopped expecting. And then it came. Maybe not the exact shape you asked for, but something came. And there was a moment, maybe brief, maybe longer, where you felt it. You felt it. The warmth of knowing that you hadn't been talking to the ceiling. That was real. I want you to find it right now. And I want you to hold it for longer than you did the first time. Not move on from it. Stay with it. Let it encode. Psalm 77:11. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your miracles of long ago. The psalmist made a deliberate decision to remember against the pull of the present pain. Do that right now. Find one thing, one real thing, and hold it for 30 seconds. 5. Space for the viewer to actually do this. I kept you this year. I know you didn't always feel kept. But look at the things that didn't happen. The crisis that didn't fully materialize. The health scare that resolved. The relationship that was on the edge and didn't go over. The moment where the worst version of something didn't happen. And you noted it briefly and moved on. Because the negativity bias has no filing system for the bad thing that didn't happen. But I kept it from happening. Psalm 122:1-7-8. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Watch over your coming and going, the arrivals and the departures, the mornings and the nights. I've been there for all of them. There are people in your life that I put there specifically not accidental presences. Deliberate placement. The person who said the exact thing at the exact time. The friendship that held when others didn't. The mentor or the pastor or the stranger who handed you something you didn't even know you needed. I want you to think of one person who has been grace in a concrete form in your life. I placed them, not by coincidence. John 15:16. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit. I appoint. I place the people around you who have been good to you are not random. They are evidence of my attention to the specific shape of what you need. I want to tell you something about the prayers you've prayed that felt unanswered. Some of them aren't unanswered. They're answered on a timeline you can't see from inside it. And some of them were answered in a form so different from what you expected that your brain filed them under not counted instead of received. I want to recount some of those with you now. The peace you asked for that came, not as the absence of difficulty, but as the ability to breathe through it. That was an answer. The provision that came through a person instead of a direct deposit from heaven. That was an answer. The resilience you've built through a season you'd never have chosen, that has made you capable of something you couldn't have been before it. Romans 5:3-4. Romans 5d. We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. And character, hope. The suffering was not unanswered prayer. It was a different kind of answer, doing a different kind of work that a pain-free resolution could not have done. Deliberately, with Emin's 30 seconds of sustained attention, I want you to thank me for the answered prayers you filed under not counted. They counted. I counted them. Amen. One more movement. This one is 8 declarations. One for each category in Philippians 4:8. 8 counter encodings. 8 deliberate directions of attention that your brain is going to hold for long enough to actually change the architecture. Stay present for each one. Don't let them slide off. Father, whatever is true, I declare over this person the truth about their situation. The truth is, you are with them. The truth is nothing they have faced has been faced alone. The truth is their life. The specific ordinary life contains more evidence of your goodness than their negativity bias has allowed them to accumulate. Let them hold true for 30 seconds. Whatever is noble, I declare the noble things in this person's story. The fact that they showed up when it would have been easier not to. The quiet faithfulness that nobody saw, but you did. The times they chose kindness while carrying something heavy. Let the noble things become visible to them today. Whatever is right, I declare the rightness of where they are. Not everything about the circumstances is right, but the direction. Still seeking, still praying, still here. That is right. Psalm 37:23. The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him. These steps are firm, even when they don't feel it. Whatever is pure. I declare the purity of the longing underneath all of this. The reason they're still in this prayer is because they want more of you, not more comfort. You. That longing is pure. It is the purest thing about them right now. Whatever is lovely. Lord, I ask you to let them see one lovely thing with new eyes this week. One thing they've been walking past. One ordinary grace they've stopped registering. Let it catch them. Let it encode. Whatever is admirable. I declare over this person, they are more admirable than they know. The courage it takes to keep believing through a season like this one is something only people who've done it understand. God sees it. He admires it. He is not looking at you with disappointment. He is looking at you the way a parent looks at a child who is learning to walk with complete, uncomplicated pride in the attempt. Whatever is excellent and praiseworthy. Father, I bring this person's entire life before you right now. Not the highlight reel. Not the carefully curated version. The whole thing. The complicated. The unresolved. The beautiful. The broken. The faithful. The doubting. All of it. And I declare that in your hands, all of it becomes material. Romans 8:28. We know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. All things. Not some things. Not the things that look promising. All of it is in the hands of the one who makes excellent things out of broken materials. Let that be the architecture of this mind. Let gratitude, practiced, stained, deliberate, become the new default over the weeks ahead. Not because the hard things are gone, because the good things are being held long enough now to change what the brain calls home. In Jesus' name. Amen. Take a breath. A real one. Over the last 25 minutes of prayer, the confession, the reception, the 8 declarations. The 8 declarations. Your brain was doing something specific. Every moment you deliberately held a positive truth in conscious attention. Every time you chose to stay with it, instead of letting it slide, you were doing what Hanson calls taking in the good. And Emmons would say that the gratitude you just practiced, named, specific, sustained, activated the medial prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate, the attention regulation regions, the ones that can compete with the negativity bias. One session doesn't rewire the default, but it is one session in the direction of a different architecture. And Lazar's Harvard research showed that consistent practice, not perfection, but consistent return, measurably changes the structure of the brain over weeks and months. You just took one deliberate step against the 4:1 ratio. That is not small. If Baumeister is right, and the data says he is, you'll need to come back to this. Not because one prayer wasn't enough, because the negativity bias is a daily reality, and gratitude practice is the daily response to it. Emmons' 10-week study produced significant change. At 10 weeks, in weeks, not one. The prescription is practice, which is exactly what Paul said. The next video in this series is one I've been building toward since we started. We're going to look at what the brain does during grief. Real, specific grief, and how the neuroscience of loss maps onto the most unflinching prayers in the entire Bible. The lament psalms, the ones we skip over, the ones that don't have a neat resolution, and the ones that might be exactly what your grieving brain needs most. Share this today with someone whose brain has been holding the hard things longer than the good ones. They probably already know who they are. Your brain was built to know God, and God designed every pathway. Be still